Here.
The record show Commissioners Funka and Gooding are absent.
Thank you. We'll turn to the adoption of the agenda.
I move to adopt the agenda.
I second.
Great.
Commissioner Lau,
Aye.
Commissioner Patel,
Aye.
Commissioner Saison.
Aye.
The motion passes with 3 ayes. We'll move to the consent calendar. If there's any members of the public that would like to pull an item from the consent calendar, I can ask the staff to post text in the Zoom call numbers on the screen. And for members of the public watching remotely, they can teleconference in within the next 30 seconds and ask any Zoom participants who wish to pull an item from the consent calendar to please raise their hand by pressing the raise hand button or by pressing *9 on their phone if they've called in. In the meantime, are there any items that the fellow commissioners would like to remove from the consent calendar?
No, thank you. Ten seconds. There's no one wishing to speak.
Okay, thank you. May I ask for a motion to adopt the consent calendar as presented?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Commissioner Lau,
Aye.
Commissioner Patel,
Aye.
Commissioner Saison.
Aye.
The motion passes with 3 ayes. Oral communications. I'd like to ask if anyone wishes to address the commission for items not on tonight's agenda. Oral comments for items that aren't on the agenda may be called in by calling the teleconference number in the next minute or made by participants in the Zoom webinar. For those participating in the Zoom, if they could please raise their hand by pressing the raise hand button or by pressing *9 on their phone.
15 seconds. There is no one wishing to speak.
Okay, thank you. Going on to written communications, there was a written communication received by Dana Dilworth, and I want just to acknowledge that that written communication. Were there any additional written communications received?
No.
And there aren't any other callers or Zoom participants who wish to make any oral comments?
There were none.
Okay, thank you. Old and new business, there isn't any old business. So we'll go to new business. I want to announce a public hearing on 150 North Hills Drive, sign program 2023-SR-4, TC-1 Crocker Park Trade Commercial District, sign program to allow 70.5 square feet of advertising signage along the secondary frontage where a maximum of 50 square feet is permitted. And finding that this project is categorically exempt from environmental review under CEQA Guidelines Sections 15311, Marco Aguirre, applicant, and AGL Hill Drive owner, LLC and owner. We have a presentation, please.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, Acting Chair and Commission. So the request before you tonight is for sign program approval for 150 North Hill Drive. The request is to allow installation of a new non-illuminated wall-mounted sign, approximately 42 square feet in size, for Bayshore Labs along the secondary frontage of this property. The existing advertising signage on this property consists of a monument sign at the corner of Guadalupe Canyon Parkway and Bayshore Boulevard, which are two secondary frontages on this corner lot. So the additional sign that's proposed would increase the secondary frontage signage to exceed the 50 square foot maximum allowed per code without a sign program, hence your sign program approval request tonight. Again, the proposed signage would be a wall-mounted sign, non-illuminated, mounted to the fascia of the roof. The sign would be most visible to drivers traveling south on Bayshore Boulevard and turning right onto Guadalupe Parkway and then left on North Hill Drive to access the site from its primary frontage on North Hill. That is the most visible frontage to cars traveling in that direction from Bayshore. In order to approve a sign program to allow more than 50 square feet of advertising signage along the property's secondary frontage, there are several findings that have to be made. Those are detailed in the staff report and resolution. But in summary, the sign program does conform to the size sign limitations in the code, with approval of the sign program, of course, and with the conditions of approval would comply with all applicable titles of the Brisbane Municipal Code, as well as the applicable general plan policies. The sign design is consistent with the building scale, colors, materials, architectural details, and style of the subject property, and does not conflict with surrounding commercial properties at 100 North Hill Drive and 3240 to 3280 Bayshore Boulevard. So in conclusion, staff is recommending approval of the application via adoption of the resolution attached to your staff report and subject to the findings and conditions of approval contained therein. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Do any of the commissioners have any questions for the staff?
No question.
I don't have any questions.
I have one question. For this exception, has there been other projects where staff have, we've approved, additional square footage on the signage? Or is this setting a new precedent?
Well, so first, to clarify, the maximum signage allocation for this property generally, just by right, due to the length of its frontages, is 100 square feet. That means that had this sign, for example, been proposed on their primary frontage on North Hill, it would just have been approved via a ministerial sign permit. So they're not exceeding the kind of by right total sign square footage, but the sign ordinance does limit how much of that maximum allowable sign, that by right maximum allowable sign area can be put on secondary frontages. The intent, I would surmise, is because the primary frontage, the frontage where the site is accessed from, that's where the city wants most of the advertising signage to be located. I think for corner properties, though, there are, circumstances to take into account. The findings to approve more advertising signage on a secondary frontage than would otherwise be allowed are not extraordinary. They're, as I summarized, they're fairly straightforward. So I think when it comes to setting a precedent, it's not an exception. It is a higher level of approval, I suppose. But yeah, I wouldn't consider it being an extraordinary precedent.
Thank you for the clarification. Would the applicant like to address the commission?
Yeah, and now I'll keep it brief. Thank you, commissioners, and good evening, and thank you for inviting us out. As Planner Julia has addressed, this is pretty much a primary intersection, and we want to make sure that whoever's driving through are able to spot and know where the building is. Also, at this side of the building, at the north side, that's where our main entrance is. So we want to make sure, again, just visibility, people know where the entrance is as well. That's pretty much it. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, announce any comments can be maybe called in by calling the teleconference number.
You can also open the public hearing.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Open the public hearing. Yes. But yes, they can call in or participate via Zoom by raising their hand and pressing the raise hand button or pressing the *9 on their phone. While we wait, I think I can mention again the written communications received. There was one received from Ms. Dilworth and with concerns of how reflection of the light may impact the environment or the butterfly migration around that area. But thank her for her comments.
Thirty seconds. 10 seconds. There is no one wishing to speak.
If there aren't any additional comments, may I ask for a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Lau,
Aye.
Commissioner Patel,
Aye.
Commissioner Saison,
Aye.
And the motion passes with 3 ayes. And if we can begin deliberations. Commissioner Saison, are there any?
No, I think what the applicant wants, the sign looks very, professionally done, and it's, it looks tasteful, so I'm inclined to support it.
Commissioner Patel?
I would say the same. And then to the extent that there was concern about reflections or lights or whatever, I think, I don't know, maybe the city council's looking at night light pollution things that could maybe fix that or alleviate that in the future, but I don't see anything wrong with it right now.
Okay, and I will make a motion that we adopt staff's recommendation.
I would second.
Commissioner Lau,
Aye.
Commissioner Patel,
Aye.
Commissioner Saison,
Aye.
And the motion passes with 3 ayes. And with that, anyone may appeal the action of the Planning Commission to the City Council, except where specified otherwise. Appeals shall be filed with the city clerk no later than 15 calendar days following the Planning Commission's decision. Exceptions to the 15-day filing period include the following. Appeals shall be filed with the city clerk within 6 calendar days of the Planning Commission's action for use permits and variances and 10 calendar days for tentative maps and advertising sign applications. An application form and fee is required to make a formal appeal. For additional information, please contact the city clerk at 415-508-2110. Thank you. And thank you. Thank you. Are there any items initiated by the staff?
Just a couple of quick items. One is a reminder, there are some planning commission training workshops coming up, and I encourage you to register if you have the opportunity and the time. So put that reminder out there. And also to Commissioner Patel's point, the council did recently adopt the dark skies ordinance. And we can go ahead and package up some maybe information for the commission, just so you have it. It's in the municipal code now in the ordinance, but we could provide that informationally just for your reference.
That'd be great.
Thank you. Fellow commissioners, are there any items you'd like to initiate?
No, thank you.
Wow. Yeah. Is there a motion to, I can just adjourn the meeting? Meeting's adjourned.
You have the power.
Thank you.